Hello there, welcome to CNR Extra, coming to you live from our studios at Owula Hansen Lane, Tesano, Accra. My name is Philip Ni Latte. Coming up. Some NDC members of parliament petitioned the party to suspend reshuffling of its leadership in the House. Meanwhile, new leader of the minority caucus calls for unity as he makes frantic efforts to address outstanding grievances within the group.
It will be my duty to represent our collective goals in particular.
We want to urge the General Secretary, and the most shocking part of it is that we were never consulted.
Individual bondholders call on Togbe after the 14th to step in and help them get exempted from government's domestic debt exchange program.
Touching a certain critical class, which is the individuals, is practically a no-go for the sustainability of any economy.
Once we define clearly what our debt service obligations are, then the next step to actually take is to look critically at government expenditure.
One person dead and another in critical condition after a commercial vehicle lost control and ran into traders selling by the roadside at the Swami runabout in the Ashanti region.
Had some minor injuries, so the person had already been seen and sent home. There is one currently on admission. You know, we have to take some x-rays to make sure there's nothing seriously wrong. But the third patient, unfortunately, lost her life.
And still on CNR Extra, we will explore the reasons behind the reduction of football supporters at football games across stadia in the country.
The issue of hooliganism, maybe people are still afraid. After the May 9th disaster, attendance is really low.
Your fans are far away from your clubs. This is not the responsibility of the FA, it's your responsibility.
CNR Extra is live on CCTV, and you can join us with your thoughts, submissions, and contributions via WhatsApp line 0204 447033. And on YouTube, you can join us as we stream live on CityTube. Jude Duncan, you're welcome.
Thank you so much, Philip.
How's your Friday going? So far, so good.
So far, so good, exactly.
The weekend is here.
Gradually, we are going towards the end of the only month with about 60 days in it.
90 days, 90 days.
So we'll get there. We'll get there eventually.
We'll get there. But the National Democratic Congress yesterday held about 3 press conferences, all in connection with the reshuffling of the minority leadership in Parliament. Let's bring you that insert that captures all the activity that happened yesterday.
The minority leader in Parliament, Dr. Kezela Tuforsen, says the leadership of the National Democratic Congress, NDC, will engage members of the minority caucus on Tuesday, January 31st, 2023, to address outstanding grievances in the group. There has been a division among members of the group following a reshuffle of its leadership by the national executives of the National Democratic Congress, NDC. Speaking to journalists after a meeting with leadership of the NDC, the minority leader, Dr. Kezela Tuforsen, assured of a collaboration with the former leadership of the caucus to deliver on their mandate in Parliament. The following report has more.
On January 24, 2023, named the Ejumako Enyan Esian Member of Parliament, Dr. Kezela Tuforsen, and the Member of Parliament, Frelembele Emmanuel Ama Kofi-Bua, as minority leader and deputy minority leader respectively, to replace Haruna Idrisu and James Kluche Aveji, while Kwame Agboja also replaced Asawasi MP Muntaka Mubarak as the minority chief whip. The shake-up in the minority leadership has caused growing disquiet among NDC members of Parliament, as some appear unhappy with the decision. It was gathered that about 60 members of the Minority Caucus signed a petition to appeal to the executives of the NDC to suspend the reshuffle for further engagement, while another 77 members of the caucus also signed a petition endorsing the current leadership. On Thursday, January 26, 2023, the new leadership of the caucus addressed the media, with the minority leader Dr. Kezia Latuforsen assuring of his commitment to unite members of the caucus.
I have held fruitful and positive conversation, in fact, frank conversation, with my senior brother, the Honorable Haruna Idrisu. I commended him for his admirable leadership and stewardship when he was granted the opportunity by a great to lead. It will be my duty to represent our collective goals in particular, with an unwavering dedication and, most importantly, with high integrity. I have no doubt that with the support of the entire Minority Caucus in Parliament, we shall succeed. May the God Almighty guide us and bless us all. But let me also add that our first responsibility is to unite the caucus, and that will be number one on the agenda.
He also outlined 3 key areas that the caucus would focus on for the next 1 month in the discharge of its duties in Parliament.
Most importantly, I will focus the next month to tackle 3 things. First, I wish to first of all send a message to the MPP that the people of Ghana are calling on them to downsize their government, to reflect the mood of the country. You are asking people to forgo their coupons or interest, asking the ordinary Ghanaian to sacrifice his payout. And so therefore, if His Excellency the President intends to reshuffle his government, let it be known that we in the NDC will not accept an attempt to increase the size of government. And if the current size of his ministers increase by 1, that 1 person may not receive our cooperation. And in the end, we also wish to assure the people of Ghana that as part of our engagement with the Finance Committee and the Health Committee, we have agreed to do public hearing on the audit of the COVID-19 expenditure, public hearing, beginning on the 7th of February 2023. At that point, we will pay due diligence to the duties given to us as the people of Ghana. And then finally, we will also embark on a roadshow where we will galvanize the people of Ghana and educate them on the meaning of what this economic crisis is going to take us through. But to conclude on this matter, I will appeal to the rank and file of our great NDC party to keep calm. Members of Parliament are in good hands. We will work with them with due diligence. Obviously, we are not new in this house. I've been in this house for 14 years. I know the capabilities of all our colleagues. Some I met, some came to meet me. I have worked closely with most of our colleagues, and I can assure you that together we shall succeed.
Later, the newly appointed leaders of the Minority Caucus in Parliament paid a courtesy call on the national executives of the NDC at its headquarters at Adabraka in Accra.
They have also recognized that the work that they've given to us will require dedication and obviously a lot more than just sitting there. So we have said that we will deliver on just that. And then obviously we have agreed with the leadership of our party that beginning from today, there will be a series of activities that we will be undertaking. The Minority Caucus will have a maiden meeting with our leadership and the party leadership on Tuesday, 31st of January 2023. It is our hope that on that meeting we'll resolve all outstanding concerns. And we also wish to assure our former leaders that this leadership will work with them in good faith. And we know, obviously, that the Honorable Haruna's leadership shot a lot of successes, and we recognize that all of us are product under his leadership. Honorable Muntaka is a stalwart, and we in this leadership will often defer to them as long as decisions are concerned and to seek their input before final decisions will be made.
We appreciate that the work ahead is going to require a lot of input coming from them. And of course, they understand that as a wing of the party, they need to work very closely with the leadership of the party to ensure that we can deliver the aspirations of our people, and especially being able to do what Ghana requires of us, which is to work towards taking out of power the most abysmal, the most incompetent, the most corrupt government in the history of our country. And so we've had a beautiful conversation with them. We've also signaled to them that early next week, on Tuesday, we'll be having a broader conversation with the caucus as a whole. And that conversation is one that would basically confirm the decisions that have been taken in terms of explaining the way forward, for us as a party, and the best way to be able to make sure we deliver the mandate that has been given to us, a mandate that will ensure the well-being of the people of Ghana come election 2024.
Meanwhile, some of the NDC MPs who signed a petition to reject the decision by the National Executive of the party to reshuffle its leadership in Parliament has petitioned the Council of Elders, National Executive Committee, and the leader of the party, John Dramani Mahama, to suspend the action. The disgruntled members believe the decision by the party is unfair and unpopular as no consultations were made.
We are equally concerned that the letters that were issued were not the decision of the party. Our party as NDC has about 4 decision-making groups. First, the Congress, where all delegates meet to take decision. Second is the National Executive Committee, that's NEC. And then third is the Functional Executive Committee. It is when this group take decision, then you get the General Secretary and the principal officers implement. Then we also have the Council of Elders, even though our constitution says that they are advisory, sometimes periodically they also give directions and then the party tries to implement. We are firm, because I serve as on FEC, I serve on NEC, I go to Council of Elders as an observer, and I'm also on the political committee as an observer. Congress, all of us as members of parliament are members of Congress. And the minority leader is also on all these levels. At no such meeting was there any agenda to discuss this. So it is clear that it is a letter, yes, written by the General Secretary, but the decision may be just the decision. Our plea is that when this petition gets to the Council of Elders, we hope that they will help fast-track a reconciliation and a meeting that will help us resolve all this before Parliament resumes, so that we don't have to saddle ourselves with this controversy. When MPP is really messing up completely, there are so many issues that we need to be focusing, which this is not the time for us to be focusing in the internal division among us, and I don't think that's healthy for us at all. 1 or 2 things we did not do. So I just want to urge our colleagues that they shouldn't be in a hurry. If this caucus really wants to have a change and have them as leaders, they can count on our support.
The Member of Parliament for Zabila in the Upper East region says until Parliament is officially notified of the reshuffle, the position of the old leadership remains.
Is when the Speaker reads a letter to Parliament, the letter he has received from the Secretary of the party that indicating the reshuffle. It is when that letter is read to members of the House that it can take effect. As at now, we have already said we are not there. So as far as we are concerned, the current leaders of the House, Honorable Haruna Idris, Muntaka and co, are deemed to still be in office. Now, the purpose of this press conference, as I've indicated, is to try to maintain cohesion in the party, is to try to ensure that we remain as a body, that we still are an appealing group to the Ghanaian populace, and that they should trust us for December 2024. So our petition is going to the Council of Elders of the NDC. We are petitioning the Council of Elders of the NDC with a copy to the National Executive, with a copy to the Speaker of Parliament, and a copy of the said petition to the former flag bearer, Honorable John Dramani Mahama. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. The basis for our petition is a prayer to suspend the reshuffle indicated by the National Executive of the party until such time, the General Secretary, signed by the General Secretary of the party. The petition is signed by the General Secretary of the party. The basis of our petition is to appeal to them to suspend the suspension exercise until such time that there's a holistic meeting of stakeholders and consultation before we take a decision. We are saying so against the backdrop that the National Executive Committee of the party a few weeks ago decided that all appointees in the party and in Parliament should remain in office until after we have concluded the parliamentary primaries and the flag bearer primaries on the 13th of May this year. That all office holders and appointees should remain in office until the primaries are over. We are therefore surprised that the primaries are not yet taken place, they are not yet over, and a reshuffle is hitting the caucus of Parliament. We think that that is premature.
So the newly appointed leaders of the minority caucus in Parliament also ended their rounds with a visit to the residence of the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagben, at Oyarifa in the Greater Accra region.
Leading the engagement the whole day. And as part of this engagement, we visited the Speaker's residence. Again, just a courtesy call. I have to say that we were warmly received. We also have benefited from his wise counsel. And so we are very encouraged by it. We've thanked him for that. Thank you very much.
What was his message to you?
Well, you know, our priority right now is to make sure that we unite our caucus. That's our number one priority. And that is so important to us. Of course, you cannot lead when your crowd, your people are not united. And that's our singular focus. And we are confident we will do that.
So as others are asking for consultation, the new leadership has taken office, it looks like, because the consultation that Muntaka Mubarak is asking for, argument that has been raised is that, well, you were served letter, the leadership was served some form of letter, and you are aware that there was going to be a change. Also, some other members of Parliament on the NDC side who are also not in favor of the decision are asking for a reversal. Someone like Sam George has asked that there should be a review of the law for the selection of the parliamentary leadership when it comes to the minority side. Also, Cletus Avoka, who is the MP for Zebila, has indicated that there should be a suspension of the decision and that they petitioned the Council of Elders and also the former President John Dramani Mahama. But it looks like this is not deterring the new leadership from working.
I mean, it's very unfortunate that it's had to come to this. I mean, if you look at the challenges in the country right now, you'd expect an opposition or a minority that will be taking on government on so many challenges confronting the economy right now, confronting education. Children are drowning in lakes without life jackets. We are talking about a debt exchange program. So many challenges the ordinary Ghanaian would have to deal with. And you expected that the minority would rather keep focus and push for some of these things to be addressed by government, but rather we are seeing a very divided front over an issue which is quite trivial, if you ask me. I don't think this is what the focus of a minority or the main opposition party should be at this stage in our lives as a people. So it's quite unfortunate. But you go back to listen to Mr. Fifi Kwete, the General Secretary of the NDC. I think the National Executive are clear in their minds as to the decision they've made. Yeah. You listen to him, he said that the meeting that will be held on January 31st,
that's Tuesday.
Next Tuesday, is to confirm the decision they've already taken and explain
to buy their
exactly.
Explain to them as well.
I don't even think it's to buy it, because whether you disagree or not, the decision has been taken already. So it's basically to explain the point of view from the National Executive to the caucus, that's the minority caucus, and tell them that this is the decision we've taken and it's in the interest of the party. Mind you, every political party's expectation or main priority is to win an election. So they feel that this is the team that would help them do that. Already the General Secretary, the National Chairman, explained that this decision is because if you look at the election 2024, it's going to be about the economy, and they feel like they need to put out their best foot forward going into a situation like that. But honestly, I don't think it has to get there. The cracks are showing, the divide quite unnecessary, if you ask me. And I feel the Council of Elders
I actually spoke to a political scientist yesterday, Dr. Jalid Atiku, and he said that if this is not done, if an action is not taken immediately, it's going to have a divided front when it comes to the minority, because even when the selection or the election of the Speaker of Parliament was being done, we could see that in government, that is the NPP side, and look at some of the things that are happening in the NPP side, could reflect in the NDC side if this leadership situation is not addressed on time.
Certainly. I mean, you don't want some of this division coming into play when you have a major task to do. And to be fair, you've been in office as a minority leadership for about 7 years, since January 17th, January 2020,
So that is
2017 up until now, and it's just about 2 years to go into an election. So for me, I don't understand why you still want to hold on to power, especially when the leadership of your party feel this is the time to hand over the baton. But like I'm saying, National Executive Council of the National Council of Elders exists for some of these reasons.
What has been raised is the right procedure to go through to get new leadership formed. It's not what was done.
Yeah, and I listened to Dr. Dominic Ayine yesterday, and I mean, their point is quite clear. And to be fair, there's some substance in the argument they are raising with regards to not being about the competence of the individuals appointed, the newly individuals or MPs appointed, but rather the consultation and the level of engagement done. If those are the issues, I think they are fair enough, but it shouldn't warrant about 3 press conferences in a day trying to debate this issue. I feel like there are more pressing issues right now
that have to be
we need to address as a people.
So we will be waiting for the January 31 meeting, that is next Tuesday, and the outcome of it. That's definitely CTTV and CTFM will keep you informed. Away from NDC-related issues, let's go to security issues. And the National Peace Council is appealing to political parties to resort to alternative dispute resolution when it comes to issues within the political space. Let's bring you that insight.
The National Peace Council has appealed to political parties to resort to alternative dispute resolution to address its differences other than violence. The council believes that subscribing to conflict resolution will go a long way in preventing violence during elections. The following report has more.
Ghana has successfully organized 8 presidential and parliamentary elections. However, in Ghana's electoral fraternity, electoral-related violence remains protracted, adversely affecting lives and properties. Electoral violence recorded in the country includes the Ayawaso West Wogon elections, the biometric voter registration exercise in 2012 at Dodododio constituency, among others. Sadly, victims of these acts of violence hardly get justice, despite calls from various organizations and the public to bring perpetrators to book. In view of this, the National Peace Council has reiterated calls for political parties to resolve conflict through resolution mechanisms other than violence. The Council says this, when adopted, will deepen the democratic process and...
The Council believes this will go a long way to even enhance Ghana's image in the democratic space. As you're all aware, the 2020 elections recorded some violent incidents and deaths. It is the conviction of the National Peace Council that a meeting like this will create the platform for fraternizing continuous engagements and discuss objectively strategic means of strengthening relationship among the political parties towards sustainable peace of Ghana.
Despite the signing of peace pacts ahead of elections, pockets of violence are still recorded. Johnson Esiedun Ketia is the national chairman of the National Democratic Congress. He bemoaned the lack of prosecution of persons found to have engaged in electoral violence.
We're all interested in seeing some progress in prosecuting the persons who were, arrested in some cases, and in other cases finding the perpetrators arrested and prosecuted. We've done more than 1 year now. We don't seem to have any meaningful progress towards prosecution of the offenders. And as we keep on repeating, if punishments are not issued, then it goes on to encourage other people to find means of retribution in subsequent elections. So we think that the way to peace is to ensure that wrongdoers are punished. And they are not punished in a selective way. Everybody who has done something wrong ought to be identified and punished.
For his part, the national chairman of the New Patriotic Party, Stephen Ayensu Intim, emphasized the need to ensure peaceful coexistence among various political parties ahead of the elections.
Next election, we go through it peacefully, as usual. MPP, you all know, is committed to peaceful coexistence with other political parties, and that is what we seek to continue doing with the rest of the political parties and the Peace Council.
So there's a good call that has been made by the National Peace Council when it comes to issues of violence characterizing elections. They should try and use alternative dispute resolution. But in the first place, why should there be violence?
I mean, it was a very important dialogue program organized by the National Peace Council. I think it's very important that some of these things are done, and for me, even the timing is even more important. So you don't want to commend the National Peace Council. I mean, go back to 2020 elections, about 8 lives were lost due to election-related violence. And for me, that's a dark past we should not return to as a country in any way. Go back to the Techiman South Coalition Center and go back into the footage. Ablikuma Central too. I mean, with the Techiman South, it was aired on CCTV. The video is on YouTube, so you see what the situation was. Live bullets being shot randomly, like it wasn't even human beings they were being shot at. So it's unfortunate, really, that we have had to go there. Ayawaso by-election violence. Exactly. I mean, all of these things doesn't speak well of our democracy, and it's something that we should safeguard. Look at what's happening in the sub-region. I mean, every single time there's violence springing up here, election violence springing up there, we need to safeguard our democracy. So it was really refreshing seeing the National Peace Council bring back and for the first time the 2 major political parties in Ghana since the election of their new executives. We've not seen any program that has brought all the national executives together. So for the first time we saw Mr. Stephen Intim and Mr. Johnson Esiedun Ketia sitting together. We saw lawyer Kodia and Fifi Kwete sitting together. We saw lawyer Nana Boache and Joseph Yamin also sitting together. So I feel like this coming together to share ideas and speak on some of these issues will go a long way. But very importantly, I was also looking forward to conversations about the NDC's return to IPAC. I feel like all of these conversations needed to be had and hard very soon, so that we could lay down the footprints going into an election. Mind you, it's only about next year, December.
2024.
So it's important some of these conversations are had as soon as possible.
So the conversations are very important, the meetings are very important, but we must walk the talk.
Exactly.
After everything has been said in those meetings, when we come out, the leadership has ensured that the supporters are in tune with whatever has been said at these meetings, so that violence doesn't characterize these elections that we have in the country. You're watching CNR Extra on City TV. Still to come. Individual bondholders call on Togbe Afeather, the 14th, to step in and help them get exempted from government's domestic debt exchange program. Kindly stay with us. We'll be back with more stories.
It's City on the Go. You don't have to miss any of your favorite television and radio shows on City TV and City FM. Enjoy thrilling content from your world of great television and relevant radio at your convenience. Subscribe to CityTube on YouTube. Turn on your notification button and receive prompts on our live streaming sessions and new content uploads. For easy access to the CityTube page, scan the barcode on your screens. Subscribe to the CityTube page and voila! Unlimited content awaits you. Don't forget to subscribe to CityTube for amazing content from City TV and City FM.
Many thanks for staying with us here on CNR Extra. You can join us with your thoughts, submissions, and contributions via WhatsApp line 0204447033. Let's bring you some more stories. And the individual bondholders have called on Togbe Afeather, the 14th, to step in and help them get exempted from government's domestic debt exchange program. Let's bring you that insight.
Bondholders have called on Togbe Afeather, the 14th, to step in and help them to get exempted from government's domestic debt exchange program. The Agbogbomefia of the Asogli State made the call during an interaction with the individual holders in his office today.
Government's domestic bond exchange program to restructure about 137 billion Ghana cedis of debt continues to face resistance from domestic investors. Individual holders of government's bond amounting to about 8 billion cedis say they want complete exemption from the program. They are asking government to cut capital expenditure in the 2023 budget and find money to pay interest on debt owed them. The group of individual bondholders recently agreed to form a joint committee with the Ministry of Finance as part of the measures taken to get their bonds exempted. On Thursday, the Individual Bondholders Forum presented a petition to the Agbogbomefia of the Asogli State, Togbe Afeather. Presenting the petition, the convener for the group, Senyor Hosi, explained the impact of the current form of the domestic debt exchange on private investors.
You have 89% to deal with. These 89% are structured organizations with clear incentives, support systems for them, like the banks. They're giving them forbearances, they're giving them revisions in their prudential ratios. But for individuals, there's no backup. Your financial stability fund is you begging on the street. You going out begging after all these years of saving and trying to earn dignity for yourself. Your financial stability fund is you dying out of hunger. Is you dying out of your inability to sustain health. Is you suspending the quality education of your children for 15 years as the government is proposing. Another matter that is absolutely unsustainable. We have no backup. So we come to you and pray that you add your voice, that you do not sit aloof while justice is ill-served, while the fate of 6.5 billion people is abused unfairly. People who only did one thing, to trust their government.
Togbe Afede, who sympathized with the investment community, called on the government to re-examine expenditure and make cuts where necessary to help gain economic credibility.
Once we define clearly what our debt service obligations are, then the next step to actually take is to look critically at government expenditure and government revenues to see what can be done to enhance our debt service capacity. And as I said in an article I wrote recently, we should begin to look closely at our expenditures. Okay. What expenditures can we cut out?
The individual bondholders are desperately trying to get their bonds exempted from the domestic debt exchange program. Now, after agreeing to a joint committee set up by the Finance Ministry to thrash out the issues, they are hoping that a petition like this to the office of a well-respected chief like Togbe Afede will help their cause. For City News, Charles Ozukumi reporting.
So in that meeting held between the individual bondholders and also the Agbogbo Mafia of the Asogli State, Togbe Afede the 14th, he indicated that cutting down of expenditure is key when it comes to this debt exchange program.
Yeah.
And it looks like he's not the only one raising it. A lot more individuals within the space, that is stakeholders within this particular industry, that is the economic sector, have raised questions that, okay, government must cut down on expenditure. Spending.
I mean, even on this show, we've said it countless times, and personally, I've always made a point that, see, our economy is such that if you look at the problems with it, they are quite structural. And in its sense, more of it is as a result of government borrowing so much.
And I think the judicious usage of money
exactly,
as well.
Borrowing so much to feed more consumption-related aspects of the economy, while there's very little production coming in. So you see government sort of borrowing to fund free SHS, pay NAPCO trainees, pay youth in afforestation, and some of those really huge expenditure, or some of those huge flagship programs that we saw during the campaign. So these are some of the problems. And for me, it was very important. The highlight of the meeting between the bondholders and the chief, Togbe Afede, for me was the fact that he actually endorsed their position and made a very important call that, see, cuts down expenditure. Another highlight was the proposal from the bondholders to government on how they can save, on how government can save about 83.5 billion Ghana cedis. And for me, see, it's very important that some of these conversations are had. Earlier this week, we had the vice president call for a bipartisan approach to dealing with some of the problems in the country. It really doesn't get better than this. If I were the vice president, I'm calling this group to the presidency for an EMT meeting to discuss their proposal, look at ways we can make this happen. But if you just come out to say, well, there's a need, you're meeting some church leaders, and you just come out to say there's a need to have a bipartisan approach, you walk the talk, you get it. So it's very important that some of these conversations are had. And you want to commend Mr. Senyo Hosea and his group. They are doing what government should have done some 3 years ago. And of course, lawyer Martin will be part of them. Like I'm saying, this group is doing what government should have done some 3 years ago with regards to consulting, engaging, and making people, bringing into the minds of people.
But the last time meeting was held between the finance ministry and also the individual bondholders. A committee was set up, and the committee is looking into their concerns.
Government's approach in all of this debt exchange program situation really has been very reactionary. So they come up with something, then it sort of backfires. Then they have to now go back to the drawing board to see how they can make amends for it. We've been saying all along that you need to engage, you need to speak to the stakeholders. Not too long ago, sometime on the City Breakfast show, conversations were had. People were talking about the fact that the level of engagement on this has been quite low. You get it? So it's very important that some of these conversations are had. So going forward, we expect a more broadened stakeholder engagement on this particular issue. That whole take it or leave it approach really by the finance ministry and government for me doesn't cut at all. If this program is to succeed, I feel like we'll need to make some adjustments to it. The adjustments can only come when you get everybody on board. So it's a step in the right direction. We expect the finance ministry, the vice president who's the head of the economic management team to take up some of these suggestions and hopefully we can make
so the
progress.
individual bondholders are asking for an exemption, but then a committee that has been created, that is a joint technical committee, would wait to hear from them. And also the 31st January is actually the deadline for the DD. We'll see what comes out of that as well. Let's move away from that story and go to a rather sad story in the Ashanti region, because one person has been confirmed dead while another on admission at the Tafo Government Hospital after a commercial vehicle, lost control. Let's bring you that insert.
Hospital after a commercial vehicle lost control and ran into traders selling by the roadside at the Swami roundabout in the Ashanti region. Now, according to eyewitnesses, the driver of the vehicle experienced a brake failure, and in the process, a customer who was hit died on the spot, while the trader who was selling the items also got critically injured. Our Ashanti regional correspondent Fatih Aminu Ibrahim has more.
Eyewitnesses say the incident occurred at around 4 a.m. on Thursday. Richmond Dankwa, one of the passengers in the commercial vehicle that was involved in the incident, has been narrating what happened to City News.
Not dominant to be woman to be around about in the catcher meeting in his around about you. I saw a yarn and driver and started proud break. A proud break and a break me fairly until I try to what the full pavement and or both pavement in one a diverty. Not in any share, baby, a dreadful for no one. The at once were there a bony pamiansa. I'm a Baku Shaka and I said, I can't school. And I saw Ken Muni Pija, you man, and was asking, no, I am near Rossi, I do me and sending a quarter Fuji. Tafuji, Nyanity, if you said, there was a car and I said, dear, why in your media.
Police sources and authorities at the Tafo Government Hospital have confirmed the incident to City News. The hospital is, however, calling on the public to help identify the deceased person. Nifa Samwa is a nurse at the Tafo Government Hospital.
One had some minor injuries, so the person had already been seen and sent home. There is one currently on admission. You know, we have to take some x-rays to make sure there's nothing seriously wrong. But the third patient, unfortunately, lost her life. Unfortunately, again, we have no relatives, so we don't have much information about her. So we are seriously, wanting relatives to come and then confirm. We are at Tafo Hospital, Tafo Government Hospital, emergency unit. So if any member or if anyone has lost their relatives or someone has gone out and has not yet returned home, please, we are asking that the person should come, or any person. The police are also involved now. So if the person comes, they can go to Swami Police Station and then back to Tafo Government Hospital.
City News checks reveal that the driver of the vehicle has been detained by the Swami District Police Command as the police have commenced investigations into the incident. Meanwhile, some traders who sell by the roadside around Swami roundabout have admitted the risk involved in selling them. They, however, argue that they have nowhere to ply their trade, hence they are resolved to sell by the roadside. Some of them who spoke to City News, however, say they are willing to move to a market if provided by authorities.
Mpacho bit me to a frama. Better place ya beko. Mebeko. Ye ho beto ya yepe. Ye ni baby te. Nti aja bana beton kakra. Na woko. Ti asra aban se. Ye ni baby te ayeton niema. To omo no omo ampanyimfo no. Omo mo no ma ya baby ne yentena ne yenton ya niema. Ye hwe school for what be lad day. Ni na wan so de ama metena se a better now, so when I was one no aduane. And until I am my abettana.
For now, until authorities put measures in place to address trading activities just by the roadside, the lives of traders and their customers will continue to be at risk. For CNR, Fatih Amin Ibrahim, Swam Runabout.
A sad situation there, but I hope the Ashanti Regional Minister has been made aware of this, because this has to do with getting places for individuals to apply their trade, and also the traders. When some of them are being given other places, for instance, you go around in Accra, you get some marketplaces, but the traders wouldn't really want to go in there and sell. They prefer to be along the street, because according to them, that is where they can easily be seen, and their wares or their produce will be bought. But I think that the authorities must be up and doing when it comes to this, and ensure that this doesn't happen again.
I mean, first of all, condolences to the families of the individual who lost their life there. And it's a very difficult topic to really discuss without even trying to victim blame, because, I mean, over the years, we've seen how when government makes an attempt to clear traders and pedestrians,
there are always issues.
There are always issues when some of these
I
things
remember there
come
was one at Circle, Kwame Nkrumah Circle, where the regional minister actually made mention that I think it has to do with Operation Clean Your Frontage.
Yes,
definitely. Everybody was cleared from the streets. Not long after, they came back.
They will definitely come back. And like I'm saying, it's a very difficult topic to discuss, because at the end of the day, you also have to understand that these people have to feed their families. So they say when they go to the markets, the level of patronage is low. It's low. It's not the same when they're on the roadside. But you see, being there comes with some risks, and listening to the story, I mean, it could be as a result of careless driving, but it could be purely accidental too. In the story, we hear that the driver's brakes failed, so you had to run into the pavement, and it caused a fatal accident. So for me, it's very difficult, but people are being paid in this country to plan some of these things, to think about how some of these things can be averted. So if you are in charge of town planning or anything, you'd want to really look at how you can make this work again. Is there a way we can sort of rechannel the market such that people can use it more? I mean, these are conversations that would have to be had, but very unfortunate that it's happened, and of course our condolences to the
it's a very
family of the
unfortunate
bereaved.
incident there, and I think that the authorities and also traders must cooperate. As and when they are moved to places that they can sell, at least you should stay in there and get your wares or your produce sold there, because life, they say, is only one. Let's move to another story, and the growing concern about gradual reduction of football supporters at games is becoming one too many, because when you go to some games, you would virtually find less or few people there. But we will bring you that story after this break.
The sisters are back with more chic and spice than ever. Join the League of Exceptional Sisters as they come to the rescue of relationships with the all-new season of Sister Sister. Be it gut-wrenching personal secrets, jaw-dropping partner shenanigans, or the cringe-worthy deeds of family and friends, our sisters will be here to help you weave through the simplest and most complicated relationship issues. Sister Sister airs every Thursday at 7 p.m. on 97.3 City FM and every Friday at 9 p.m. on City TV. Sister Sister is sponsored by Kel Kids Toothpaste, the Ghana AIDS Commission, and Onga.
Many thanks for staying with us here on CNR Extra. Let's bring you that story of why there is low patronage, or you would have low supporters at various games in the country. Let's bring you that insert.
Now, there's a growing concern about the gradual reduction of football supporters at games in the Power Ghana Premier League across stadia in the country, with the result affecting the revenue stream of clubs and all stakeholders involved. City News' Adam Kai takes a look at the situation and has found this report.
Football is the most popular sport in the country by a mile and is often referred to as the passion of the nation. Sadly, the passion for football on the local scene seems to be fading away. There is growing concern about fan attendance to games in Ghana's flagship football league, the Power Ghana Premier League. City Sports attended a league game between Accra Lions and Team Chelsea at the Accra Sports Stadium, which had less than 1,000 people in attendance. Interactions with some die-hard fans revealed that they felt the league had lost its spark and attractiveness due to a lack of star power and inadequate promotion and marketing.
Much of the excitement of the league has to reduce. From my perspective, I think there's not much excitement in the league at this moment.
When we were kids, coming with our parents, come and watch football here. I mean, you could see there were a lot of big names, and you could see the players were playing hard. And when you always come to the stadium, you feel that you didn't waste your money to come and watch good football and quality football as well. But in terms of the current standard of the league, I think the players are not up to standard.
Former Betim United winger Kujua Samoa, who now plays for FK Spartaks in Latvia, was in attendance, and he was of the view that the media has a role to play in the situation.
The media also project the league to the people who has never been to stadium before, because if they keep saying bad things, sometimes what people hear, they try to make effort. Like if I hear that something is happening here, I want to go there. But how did they also project it on there for people to see, or how people hear about it can even push the people to go or not? So I think the media also has a way to make it more interesting for the people who have never seen the stadium before. Because if the criticism is more than how they play the league, it's going to be impossible for people to come to the stadium.
In an interview with City Sports, Herman Hesse, supporters chief of Power Premier League giant Accra House of Folk, felt different issues contributed to the situation we are now witnessing.
Apart from those of us who usually have the opportunity to sit at the VVIP and enjoy the facilities there, if you go down there, the facility there is really horrible. Okay, also the issue of hooliganism, maybe people are still afraid. After the May 9th disaster, attendance is really low. Is it that people are still afraid? Is it that people are still not comfortable? Is it a security situation? Okay, because there are still issues, especially outside Accra and Kumasi, where there are issues of hooliganism at the stadium. So let's look at all these things, and I believe that we should find a solution, but definitely we must all agree, and you as media people, you are stakeholders, and I am very thankful that you guys have gotten involved, so that we first of all identify what the problems are. The ones I've mentioned may be my opinion. We need to talk to a lot of people. They may also have different opinions, different perspectives.
President of the Ghana Football Association, Ket Okreku, also spoke about the growing problem at the 28th Ordinary Session of Congress held at Pram Pram.
Your fans are far away from your clubs. This is not the responsibility of the FA, it's your responsibility. Gone were those days that one will sit at home and think that if I put 11 players on the pitch, the fans will come and watch. Those days are gone.
For me, my biggest problem is the maintenance of the stadium, because you go to the Accra Sports Stadium, that the Ohinijan Sports Stadium.
Accra Sports Stadium,
Yeah, Accra Sports Stadium, yes. It's also the Ohinijan Sports Stadium. The facility there, it's nothing to write home about.
I know.
The washrooms,
I know.
when it comes to even the lawns, what you are supposed to play the football on, the seats, other things, a lot of things come in.
I mean, our
stadia
in here. Our stadia
exactly.
in this country
It's
is in
in
terrible
bad
shape.
shape.
From the Accra
It's
Sports
not been
Stadium.
maintained well, and it has to be fixed.
I agree with you. The Sipon Stadium that was built for CAN 2008, every single stadium in this country is almost in a very terrible shape.
Recently, there was a report from from the whole sports stadium. A match was happening just for a little rain, and the place got flooded. Everybody had to move out.
Philip, I totally agree with you when you say our stadium is in a very terrible shape. And for me, I really felt this GFA administration was doing quite well initially when they came on board. I mean, they brought back this whole campaign about bring back the lab, and it was really catching on with some of the things they were doing. In fact, this Ghana Premier League we are talking about, they even had a song, let's cherish on our own, this is our own. Ghana Premier League is back again. And it was a jam, like everybody was singing along and everything. But I think along the line, they lost focus. I really, so many challenges. The management style of this leadership has been very confrontational. They've not really taken time to engage, and there's a perceived corruption really with regards to some of the decisions they've taken. Quite recently, we've had an amount of about 240 million Ghana cedis that was taken to the from the sports ministry to the FA for our various national teams, and people are asking questions. Huge sums of amounts of monies given to the Black Queens when in a whole year they played about 2 football games and they spent about 9 million Ghana cedis. So all of these things would take away some interest and the ordinary person would have for the local league, and the ripple effect is what we are seeing with regards to attendance. I agree, our stadia is nothing to write home about.
Just give it for events.
When we went to the MPP conference at the stadium, I wanted to use the washroom, and when I was getting closer to the washroom, I was hit with a stench, but I just took my eye off it and entered. When I just got in front of the washroom, everything I wanted to go and do just disappeared, and I was fine instantly. The washroom is in a very terrible state. All of these things come together, but I feel largely, really, a lot of the responsibility would have to go to the managers of our football in the country, and that is the GFA. I don't think they've been very transparent and open with their dealings with regard to football, and the football people themselves will tell you. So going forward, we expect a lot of transparency, and this whole thing about trying to sue people who have different opinions, I don't think it's the way forward, really.
The conversation wouldn't end now, but my issue is with the maintenance of the stadium, because you can't give it out for events every now and then, and the place is not well maintained. How will you attract a lot more people to come and watch?
If it's about football, if the focus of the story, like we saw, is about the low patronage of our leagues, I feel the FA should be given a lot more responsibilities with regard to marketing our league and managing our football very well. And if that is done,
the marketing and the managing can be done when the facility is good. Anyway, this is how we end today's edition of CNR Extra on City TV. My name is Philip Milati. I did this with Jude Benson. We will have more to talk about on this. Many thanks for your time, and keep watching City TV.